I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite
podcast
on the Citadel.
You are listening to Accidentally Casual, a nerding gaming podcast journey. My name is Minius of Minius GC, and with me is Tucker from Talking About Games.
Hello.
Tucker is a game designer, and I'm a dude with a very big voice who plays a lot of games, and together we podcast.
Yeah. I don't know how to intro. Like, when you present me, I think I just say hello. Like, that's
what we're supposed to do, right?
Yeah, but, you know, like, whenever there's podcasts or stuff, like, it seems like people say more than just hello, but we've done so many podcasts and drama nerds and
this is number 48, I think.
But I think I've always just gone hello. I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, occasionally you go in there with an F-bomb and make it amusing, but
yeah, it's
not very important. So we're gonna try to make this a weekly podcast again. We have backups of our backups, and we're recording backup shows. So we're gonna go weekly release. Right now, we're looking at Fridays at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, 5 at night in the UK, and 4 in the morning on Saturday in the East Coast of Australia. The world is round, and there are different time zones. Yeah. But I imagine we will switch that up until we eventually get a good recording time. We finished the first video we did immediately, which is interesting, because we cut out a lot of the working parts, so it became very, very easy. I think we'll be able to turn this around pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is like we record, but then give it a day or something like that, just in case
something bad happens.
Yeah.
Also, heads up, I want to record a little bit earlier in a couple weeks because I want to play Cyberpunk all day. And
sure.
Yeah, that's the topic of our show. But I just want to let you know we'll talk about that later. So these aren't going out immediately because we do a video version of it, and that video version takes a while to put together still. But I do want to get these podcasts on audio versions. So if you have a particular podcast service you want to hear, or you want to hear Accidentally Casual on, let me know in the comment section, or probably the best way is to tweet at me at MiniusGC. You can also try accidentallycasual@gmail.com.
Where do you listen to podcasts?
Just on the Apple service.
Really? What podcast do you listen to? Like, what are your go-tos? So
my favorite podcast is barely a podcast, but it comes out a week. It's called Hardcore History.
Ooh. And
it's phenomenal, but it comes out like twice a year now. So.
Oh, really? So they don't put out weekly episodes or anything?
It's the most in-depth breakdown, and the guy does a whole bunch of research and stuff. It's
really?
If you're interested in history at all, it's absolutely must listen to.
Ooh.
But that's the one I always come back to. I'm like, oh, that guy's really good. I want to try something like that.
Because I'm just on Spotify here with mostly nitpicking. One podcast that's like, well, mostly nitpicking is like they pick like movies apart, so on. One that's mythology, that's literally just a person reading mythology stories from all different pantheons. There's like Cuchulainn from Celtic, Amaterasu, or however you pronounce that, from
Amaterasu.
Japanese. Yeah, from Japanese. There's Thoth.
I'm pretty sure we both
Egyptian.
Got that wrong, actually, now that I think about it.
I don't know. But I've been playing some Smite, and that just gets my mythology.
Okay.
Oh, it gets me going with that.
One more thing, too, before we get too far. We want your Mass Effect game ideas. We've got a bunch of them already, which is pretty cool. People came in. There is a new Mass Effect game coming at some point. I'm going to go with 2026. It might be 2025, but it's fun to speculate. And we want you guys to pitch Mass Effect ideas. Email your ideas in again to accidentallycasual@gmail.com, or post it in the comments section. Try to keep it under 250 words if you can, because I imagine you could go on for a while, and we can. But
I would love to see some in-depth designs, but if you want to keep it,
you know what?
250.
Fine, go as deep as you want. So we can either make this a full show, which was the original plan, but I think we're getting enough of them that we could make it like a weekly segment.
Ooh, maybe
where we could do a couple of them every single week on the podcast. I haven't decided what to do, but that way there's no cutoff, so you can get this and keep on going in, and we can get going, and we'll just chat game ideas.
Yeah.
So if there's a couple that are similar to each other, we can put them right next to each other and then discuss that in depth, you and I. Anyway, comment section. Let us know.
Yeah.
Also, we're doing this thing by email. Is email no longer cool, man? I know it's not cool, but
well,
hold on. Let me read these. Let me read these texts from between Tucker and I.
Yeah.
He sent me a video, and first of all, I was really, really deep in Miles Morales, so I saw this thing coming up and like, I'm not going to do this right now. He sent me a thing. I did a thing. Send me an email link reminder. Gross. Is this 2013? And I went,
yeah.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah, because so we talk on Discord. I had to convince you to download the app for it, but
which I didn't have at that point.
But there are numerous ways that you could save a video. Like I sent it to you as a text, and I don't know if I'm guessing you have YouTube on your phone. I don't know if you're using a flip phone at this point. But
no, I don't like watching videos on my phone. I like to blow them all the way up.
That could be fair, but you can still hit like the save later on that video. But
I totally could have.
You also could have said like, oh, send it to me on Twitter or through Discord or something. But you said send it to me through an email. I was like, okay, Grandma.
But I only communicate via text now, and that's not something we can do for this podcast. Do we need to set something else up for Accidentally Casual?
No, email is fine because like that is the best way for people to reach out like that. But when you're telling someone to like, oh yeah, send me an email about the YouTube video, I had like flashbacks to those forward jokes from your uncle kind of thing of like.
Okay, I never did any of that stuff, so. No, my email is pretty clean and not full of crap, which I'm sure most people's full of crap.
Oh, mine is junk.
Yeah, so that would not work for most people. And you're like, 2013? I'm like, 2013 just happened. I'm like, wait a minute. No, it didn't.
Nah, we're 2020.
2013 was a while ago.
Yeah.
2013, by the way, came out
7 years ago?
Mass Effect 3, right?
No, didn't
Mass Effect 3 was
come out in 2013?
2012.
Oh, was it?
I know, man.
Because 2007 was Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 2 was
2010, I believe. March 2012. Mass Effect 3, by the way, the very last game I waited in line for.
What was the last? The last one I think I waited in line for was the Master Chief Collection, which was also Assassin's Creed Unity coming out at the same time, but let's forget about that game. But funny enough, when I was waiting outside for Mass Effect, or the Master Chief Collection, that's when I got my job at Follower, because I was one of the losers that got there at like 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning. And so I was the first person in line, and one of the other people that came up in line was one of the head writers for one of the head script writers. And so I just started talking with him, and that's how I ended up getting my job at Follower.
So yeah, the reason I don't wait in line anymore is because I buy everything digital.
Oh,
so
yeah. There's no more enjoyment in waiting in lines. Like, I waited in line for the Xbox One console when it came out, and there was, like, no one waiting for the midnight. Like, that's just not a thing anymore. And it's kind of understandable with digital distribution. I mean...
Yeah, well, you can't digitally distribute a console yet.
Well, yeah, but...
And I would have bought the new consoles digitally if I could. If you get one of those, like, 3D printers that prints you a console.
Stadia...
It's coming soon. I still don't get streaming games. That's not...
Well, I worked on Stadia. That's what I did at Bungie. I was working on the Destiny... I was working on Shadowkeep DLC as well as the Stadia port, to which my gamer tag on Stadia is literally just Tucker. Because I was one of the first few people, like, to get the gamer tag thing. That is I'm so proud of that. Of just having the gamer tag Tucker on Stadia. But, Stadia is... a pretty cool concept. It had a lot of issues with latency.
I don't think everyone's internet is ready for that.
That is part of the issue. Something that is fun is Microsoft is also trying something similar called xCloud, which is going to be part of Game Pass Ultimate. If you have Game Pass Ultimate...
You sound like a Microsoft employee, dude.
I can be enthusiastic, and I know how to, like, sell that enthusiasm. I'm pretty decent at that. I do know that. But yeah, that's going to be part of Game Pass Ultimate is xCloud, which is going to be some Game Pass games. I don't know specifically which ones. I think it's starting out with Microsoft IPs, but going to expand out to others. But it'll be the same kind of thing of you stream the games to either your console or your phone or your Samsung fridge or whatever. and just be able to.
We'll have to see how at some point that's really going to work. I know Amazon's been trying to do stuff like that, and there's
that was
MMO...
Google Stadia. That's what.
No, Amazon's also announced something.
Amazon is getting into gaming,
and Amazon has the largest collection of cloud computers and processing in the world.
Yeah,
because they were one of the first, and they're a specific MMO coming up called New World, where it's supposed to be an action combat MMO, which may or may not work based off the cloud computing. So I'm curious to see how that works. But anyway, we got really sidetracked.
I mean, that'll be out here in Seattle where I am, because Amazon's out. Man, so Amazon is out here in Seattle, and we have a part in the city called Bezos's Balls, and
Wait, is that a slang for it, or is it actually called that?
Well, there are these two big glass domes that have they're part of the Amazon building. Like I don't know exactly the part of Amazon they are, but they are part of the higher up of some managers and things like that. But it has like a botanical garden in it, and it's really cool looking. But it's these two big glass dome balls in Seattle, and the nickname for them are Bezos's Balls.
It's not Bezos?
I think it's Bezos. Jeff Bezos.
I should know this because I'm actually significantly financially invested in Amazon, but I don't.
But I'll send you a picture of Bezos' balls. Because
that they sounds fantastic. Thank you for sending me pictures of balls.
Yes. I mean, a lot of shit in Seattle's pretty cool. The library is pretty cool out here, too.
Seattle's a cool city.
I can see the library from my apartment, and it's just an oddly shaped glass building. It's like 11 floors, and I walk by it, and it's like... I get excited when I visit that library, because having fun is never hard when you got your library card.
Wow. That sounds like 1967.
That was Arthur. Thank you.
Seattle is my second favorite city that I don't live in.
I like it.
But
it's got its problems, but I like it.
I'm sure it's got its problems. You're living away from dangerous areas.
Oh, no. I just
No, you seem to find trouble. You're really good at it.
Yeah.
And you say something, and I'm like, wow, how does all this shit happen to you? And you're just one of those guys that finds things.
It's just a casual thing of like, hey, this happened. And you're like, what? It's like, yeah. Here's a picture. Like, God damn it.
All right, so this is going to be titled Cyberpunk, because we haven't even started talking Cyberpunk yet.
Yeah. So that game was like announced in 2004 or something like that with that
way ago. It wasn't, you're exaggerating a little bit, but not really.
It was 7 years ago when it got announced. It was 2013 actually when it got announced. And it had that one woman that looked like a necromorph from Dead Space. Like with her arms
just because she had the mantis arms coming out.
Yeah. To which I actually I watched Dead Space has movies. And I watched one of them recently, and it was downright terrifying. It was like animated, like it looked kind of like an anime one, but it was terrifying. I think it was called Downfall. Oof! It takes place between the events of, or it takes place before the events of the first movie. Oof! Oh, it was a good movie.
All right. Anyway, the reason we're doing this is because it's supposed to launch in a couple weeks.
Yeah, December 10th.
And it may or may not launch in a couple weeks.
Nah, it's got to at this point.
You sure?
I mean, it has
At some point, they just have to go like really, really troll everyone.
I mean, I think they've already passed out like early copies of it, so like it's got to happen at this point.
When was the original launch date? It was March, right?
I don't know of what year. March of
this
what year?
It was this year.
It was also supposed to be November 19th.
Yeah, that was the most recent delay.
But it got delayed with that. It's got to be at this point.
So, okay, Cyberpunk 2077 was originally set to be released on April 16th. Then it was pushed to September 17th. And
of what year? Hold up.
This is 2020.
Oh,
so this is all 2020, but this is perfectly 2020 stuff. So it was originally set to be released on April 16th, then it was pushed back to September 17th, then November 19th, and now it's at December 10th.
So I like how, I mean, that must be its official release date because they've also delayed it before.
Yeah, this is just when, hey, we release. This is why I don't like companies coming out and say it's going to be released on this day, because I don't see how you can hit those dates at this point. These projects are so big.
Well, I mean, it was, kind of a global pandemic kind of changed things around. For the most part, companies will have things planned out decently in advance because you got to budget, you got to plan everything ahead, you got to do all that.
The spin we're kind of looking at this is we're going to compare this game to Mass Effect, because I get asked frequently, what games do you want, or what game should I play if I like Mass Effect? And Mass Effect's such a unique game that there aren't a lot like it, and this is one that could be.
Yeah.
But the first parallel is, if this is a Mass Effect game being put out by EA, do they just throw this game out on April 16th anyway?
This isn't EA.
I know, but I'm just saying if it was.
I don't. I mean, if it was EA, then it'd probably have been in the same path as Anthem or something like that, where it would have been released for publishers to make people money and make happy, and fix down the road.
Which is why you don't see a game delayed this often, because it's kind of bonkers.
That's part of the advantage of being their own publisher. Cause
I guess, yeah,
they publish their own games, right?
A fairly large independent. Almost every single major game is backed by a big-time company. So there's huge financial overtones for all this stuff.
Well, Bungie was recently its own
but Bungie's jumped in.
That was
I
a
think
thing for it.
More and more companies are going to try that. It's not going to be easy, because you're going to have competition from really, really, really rich dudes.
Yeah, well, that's part of, like, they are trying to break up the monopolies themselves, and it's like, that's an uphill battle. So
Definitely is. It's interesting, though, to look at it so they're looking at this CD Projekt Red, as I assume, from a very, very long-term perspective, being that it is way more important to them to have this game be as good as possible than it is to get it out on time. Because at the moment, they have a very, very, very good reputation for making good games, even though they haven't made that many, quite honestly.
Yeah, it was, besides The Witcher.
I would say, I mean, there are people who really like that Gwent game, which is still a Witcher game, basically.
Witcher.
That's but it's the only two that I would call really, really good would be the second Witcher game and the third Witcher game, and that's it.
Yeah, but what else have they done besides that?
Not a whole lot. Obviously, the first Witcher game. Let me try to dig into this.
Have there been other Cyberpunk games?
Cyberpunk has not had a game yet.
Because it's been a board game.
It's been a board game series, yeah.
And that's what this game is inspired by, is the board game.
Yeah. According to this, CD Projekt Red has only done Witcher games, basically.
Oh, okay.
So this is a very, very drastic departure for them.
Well, yeah.
You're going from a first-person melee combat game to a first-person shooter.
You mean third person, but yeah.
Did I say first person?
Yeah,
I can't get those persons right.
All good.
How many persons are there?
Well,
it's important too.
There is second person.
Is there? That's a fake thing.
No, it's not. Second person is you. Is essentially you are doing X. Instead, first person is I. Third person is John.
Oh.
Second person
I see what
is
you're
you.
saying by that, but in the writing sense.
And I think...
Are there any games that are actually second person, though?
I feel like if there are, it would be some of the story games, like maybe What Remains of Edith Finch might be...
I suppose when we're looking at it more from a camera angle, there's only first and third, and second is kind of imaginary, which is how I'm looking at it. So first person is direct eye view.
Yeah.
You can't see your body unless you look down at your toes, and even then, sometimes you can't see your body. In third person, you are behind the character that you're controlling, which is how a lot of games are.
Well, then there's also 2D cameras of like side scrollers,
flat scrolling, and top down. I love top down games. They don't make those anymore because no one else likes them.
Well, no, they still do. There's some new ones coming out. It's just, they aren't as popular because
my favorite arcade shooter developer flat out said we're not going to make arcade shooter games anymore because they don't sell at all. I went like, no. Yeah, I went out and messed. This is a Housemarque. They're coming out with a somewhat inspired game, and I met some of those guys at one of the game conventions, and they thought I was weird because I liked their game way too much.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah, and I kept on going back and playing it. Anyway, so this is probably the most anticipated game in a while.
Yeah,
Cyberpunk,
which means it's not going to live up to the hype, which is unfortunate.
Can it? Is that even possible?
It's not going to. It's like Half-Life 3, that will never live up to the hype.
Which you're working on, by the way, right?
Always. But yeah, it's not going to live up to the hype. of it. Just it is so overhyped because people got excited for it, and it now has some of like a cult following of that stuff. But you know, it's going to be a great game, but it's not going to live up to the hype of it.
Yeah, I think you should look around. If it's a 9 out of 10 game, that'd be pretty solid.
Yeah, but it's like enjoyable. If someone gives this a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, I feel like that could be like, hey, that's not as bad. But you know, if someone gives it a 7 out of 10, the internet's going to skewer them because it can get like that.
Yeah, we'll
it can really get like that.
Yeah, well, the internet's fun. It's a fun place.
It is.
You're on it, technically.
Well, yeah.
We're talking on it. So anyway, I've billed this, and this is what we're going to discuss first, as the most Mass Effect-like game other than Mass Effect. And I don't think that's actually true, but let's look at why. And we mentioned, Mass Effect being the very specific game. The things that people like about Mass Effect most that we both have a lot of experience talking about Mass Effect and with Mass Effect fans. One, it's the conversation system. Yeah. That's the biggest thing that stands out. The second one is it's the amount of decisions you can make. You have control
the amount
over
of
characters
altering decisions, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like decisions with consequences. And there are fewer of those than you think, but it feels like you got a lot of control.
Yeah, and I was watching some of the gameplay for Cyberpunk, and it does make me wonder how much is a fake kind of choice system. Like that one gameplay where they were getting the robot drone. And they're like...
I don't want to talk too much about the spoiler stuff in there, so if someone hasn't seen that...
Well, I don't know.
I know what you're saying. You just say the mission where you have different ways to get to something.
Yeah, and they said, hey, we're going to go about peaceful. We're going to try to do this in a peaceful way. And it still ended up with a gunfight. It's like, well... Is it actually possible for us to do it peacefully, or will there always be a fuck-up?
You can sneak past it.
Well, okay, because
that's what someone did, yeah.
Because there are some games that do that, like The Walking Dead, the Telltale one, was kind of famous with that, where a lot of your choices don't really change much, actually.
Which is very, very hard to do in a game.
Yeah.
Because the more choices you can make, the more different options it goes, and the harder that is to program.
Yeah, like just the amount of work that requires as you start especially when you get 3 or 4 decisions deep, shit can get wild. But yeah. This game has been worked on, I think, since like the Mayans were writing on tablets, but.
I hope not.
It does seem
you think they've been working overtime since then?
Yeah. It does seem like a lot of work is being put into it. So I am definitely going in there with I wouldn't be surprised if some of your decisions don't play out the way it is, but I do feel like the effort is absolutely there, that there will be choices and stuff that you can make that will absolutely change a lot.
What they are saying they're going to do is incredibly ambitious and very, very, very hard.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that there aren't games like that very often.
That's what it is. It's like, it is extremely ambitious, and I feel like they can do it, but I want to get my hands on it before it's like...
This is the problem with Mass Effect 3. It was like, hey, you didn't actually make any decisions, and people got pissed. Yeah, and you don't really understand how hard that is.
Well, I mean, your choices still matter when you're there with Tachanka or
you can make. There are ways to do it, and we can discuss this as we get into different Mass Effect ideas.
There's all of that. It's just like the ending of Mass Effect 3 was kind of like, but our choices.
So where was I when I was going there? I was saying conversation system. Decisions, romance. People are really nuts for romance options, and that's apparently all over this game. And romance is a very nice way of putting it.
Yeah, I gotta ask, because they said like one of the things in this game has casual romance. So if there's casual romance, does that imply that there's ranked and competitive sex as well?
Or orgies or something? I have no clue.
Because if
And
there's
ranked and
casual,
competitive sex,
well,
that
if
sounds...
if there's casual romance, then that implies that with
Competitive
casual,
romance?
there's got to be competitive romance.
I've never been involved in one of those. I don't really know what that is.
I think that's just called dating.
Is it? Is that? I thought you were like. I guess you really competing for it. Is that like The Bachelor, but like
know.
Cyberpunk 2077? Is that what that is? I've never seen an episode of The Bachelor or Bachelorette. I have no interest in it.
I've seen like some clips of it just because I have like
clips.
sisters.
Oh,
Like, I've seen like moments of it because they'll watch it, but
yeah,
that's about it.
So there's those, and then the final thing is it's got a cool sci-fi setting.
Yeah,
so that's 4 major Mass Effect points
there's
that are in there.
And there's something I'm wondering about because I don't know much about this game. I
so you can ask.
Didn't have much interest with it because I've played Witcher 3. I've played the beginning of that game a decent amount of times, and I've never really gotten past, like, after I've killed the Griffin, I've never really gotten past that just because.
So like, you've got stuck at the Griffin and in the hinterlands in Dragon Age.
Yeah, because I had my enjoyment
great.
with that game, and it was just kind of like, I don't. It just, for some reason, it just kind of drops off after that because I don't know. But so,
I mean, if it's just, they're slow burns, and this game might be a slow burn.
They are, so I've been kind of going more towards games that are quick, short, and like kind of things like that, like more quick ones rather than like an 80, 100-hour long game. And so Cyberpunk's going to be like getting back into that, but I was kind of not interested because I knew it was going to do well. And I know the community is extremely excited, but it was just kind of like, I'm just going to kind of skip it. But now, looking at a lot of stuff, it's like, no, I'm excited again for it. And it's launching in 2 weeks, which I feel like is the best time to now get back into it of like, okay, no, I can be excited for this.
Yeah, I'm cautiously excited and definitely going to enjoy it, but don't have over-the-top expectations for anything anymore, basically. I just kind of look and like, what could go wrong, and then I'll go in there. There's specific things about this game that I'm damn curious about.
There's one thing in particular that I'm feeling iffy with, and it's the bullets in this game, or the ammunition. It seems like there are 3 types of ammunition. One are ones that like bounce, like they are smart, that you can bounce off of walls or stuff. Some that you supercharge that can go through, that can penetrate, and then some that lock on. Are those the only 3? Are there no like regular guns?
I assume there are, and I have not played the game, so I can't answer that.
Yeah, because if there are, like, just one of those alone, the locked on bullets can be fun, but if that is like one of your main weapons, I feel like that takes away some of the skill or some of the aspect of that when your bullets find the enemy themselves.
Yeah, and this is more of an RPG than a skill-based action game too. So it's a lot more about writing the story, so that may not be very interesting, but if they have
it would be like if Witcher had a sword that you just hit like one button and it's just kill, like without having skilling of timing, parrying, doing any of that stuff. With shooters, it's aiming and your accuracy with that, and like, well, your bullet's finding its mark.
If they have to do something like that, well, there's a couple things they'll have to do. Mainly, maybe having a range or a certain, your bullet can only arc so much,
or a rarity. Could be a rarity or a distance. There's the smart pistol.
Extremely limited ammo is another way to do it.
I mean, there's the smart pistol in Titanfall, and that was fun. But in the first one, it was kind of overpowered because anyone could use it. And they balanced it in the second one by making it limited. But
yeah,
like you had to like burn your way up to it.
And this is kind of in Mass Effect. You use it when they're in cover, so you can kind of bend your ability around cover and hit someone.
Yeah.
But you actually have to aim that. It's not automatic. It's not like a lock on and then you turn around and fire it. You gotta be within a certain range of them and hit that.
As well as if the enemy is, because I'm guessing the enemies as well in the game can use the same exact ammunition as you.
Very possible.
How do you stop the locked on if they're using locked-on ammunition for you, how can you get away from that? Like, so I'm curious about that. Like
that's actually that's a very good point.
Because the combat is going to be a big thing for me personally, because that will be what keeps me involved. Because the way that I want to play it, from my plans right now, would be a sniper rifle that does have the. I mean, I'm talking shit about the locked-on ammunition, but on a sniper rifle
with locked-on
yes,
ammunition.
because I feel like that would be great. And then the other thing would be like a pistol or an SMG or like something small, light, rapid fire that could be used in close. Because I want to be stealth and that can take people out like long range with a sniper or move in close with a pistol. Like I want to be Thane. Is how
I'll probably go that
and
shotgun and try to sneak in close and then blow people up.
So
which is how I like playing all that stuff.
Very interested with the combat. And that's why I'm also interested, because it seems like a lot of stuff, like there were stuff where they showed coming in guns blazing and going in stealth, and I do like that there's a lot of that. Like that will be fun.
Yeah, we'll have to see the options. One of the things they said is there is a way to go through the game without killing anyone. I don't think that's true. But I'm going to find out, and that's one of my playthroughs. We'll try to do that.
There's a decent amount of games that you could beat without killing someone. You just have to...
But not huge. Yeah, it's not common.
Well, you have to be specifically going for... Like, Dishonored has a you specifically have to be trying to not kill people. Like, that's not a thing that can just casually happen. You have to... I will not kill a single person. Same thing with that one game everybody absolutely lose their mind over.
Metal Gear Solid, man.
No.
No.
2D one. The 2D one that's on PC. Oh, man. People are going to get angry that I can't name this now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The one that has the flower. The one that has this skull that everyone... It's that one game.
What?
We're
going to come back to that.
No. Too late. I've gone down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, okay. Well, you think and I'll talk. The other one, I always enjoyed Metal Gear Solid hard playthroughs where you go around not killing anyone. So that's something to go. And while Tucker still thinks of this, and he's not going to get it.
No. Man, as soon as I name this game, I am honestly so disappointed in myself that I can't. It is... It's the 2D game that was made by like a small group of people. The internet has lost their absolute mind over it because of it. Like it's pretty cool because it has some sort of thing where you have to open up your game itself, the game files itself, kind of like Doki Doki Literature Club, where you have to actually open up the game files itself and alter them to take part in the game. God, what is it?
I can't even think of the game I'm thinking of that isn't the one you're thinking of, so I'm not going to be able to help you at all. Why don't we tag that, because you will sit here for 15 minutes, and I don't want to have to
Undertale.
Edit Undertale.
It was
okay.
Undertale. God, man.
Are people still going nuts over Undertale?
Absolutely. They're probably like the 5 people subscribed to me. Probably all hit the unsubscribe button as they were hearing me not miss this name.
All your subscribers.
I know, right? But
I'm still there.
That's a game that was like that. I forgot.
Yeah,
I forgot why I brought up Undertale. I got so caught up trying to figure out its name.
So back to the combat on Cyberpunk 2077. I think a lot of people are going to have issues with it. It's just the kind of game that most studios need a couple cracks at a type of gameplay to get it right.
Well, do they have like? Is
and
it all
they have
gun
never
combat?
made a first-person shooter combat type game before.
Well, is it all gun combat? Do they allow builds for people who want to come in and just start slugging?
There's melee builds.
Okay, so that
sneaking builds. Yeah, no, there's other options if you don't like the gunplay. And apparently the gunplay too, it starts out very sloppy, and you need to spec into it to make it work.
I like that.
So, like, you're going in there and you can't hit shit, and you have to actually spend points on being able to hit people.
And that's what I'm meaning, though, with, like, the smart bullets and things like that. Like, that helps you feel like you're growing as a character when you're better with accuracy and so on like that. And so I like that you spec into it, that you build your character up into being, like, more proficient with a firearm and so on like that.
So yeah, this game has tons of potential, and it's just so big that you're like, I don't know if this stuff is possible to pull off.
And it's also a lot more open world, I think, than what I was understanding of it. I thought it was open world in the sense of the Mass Effect games, where there are hubs that you can go to that you can explore
around.
that have, and that Cyberpunk would have a decent amount. But from what it is kind of looking like,
it's way more like GTA.
Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, where it's just completely open.
In fact, if you were going to compare Cyberpunk to certain games, and we have a Mass Effect slant on that, mostly because most of our listeners are Mass Effect fans, which we'll branch out on, I hope so, because we like lots of different kinds of games.
Yeah.
But it's probably a lot more like a hybrid between Grand Theft Auto and Deus Ex than it is a Mass Effect game. But it has those elements that we talked about there. Those are the two games I would put, and you're like, this is a hybrid of those, but with the same kind of choices that you would get in a Witcher game or a Mass Effect game, and romances on top of that. So it's combining a whole bunch of different games into one, which is crazy, crazy ambitious, which is why it's not surprising, A, it's taken so long, and B, it's been delayed 3 times.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to think of... I mean, maybe Skyrim, when that was coming out, that was considered extremely ambitious. And that's a game they still release.
Although Skyrim, at its core, really not that much different all the way back to Morrowind.
I mean, Skyrim is even released on the Alexa.
Yeah. Are they on the... What?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah. Hey, Alexa, play Skyrim.
No! God damn it. She's not listening,
Welcome back
is she?
to Skyrim, adventurer. You scroll through your journal menu for a refresher on your quest.
Alexa, stop. That's how it works.
Oh my... What the hell? Audio description? That's bizarre.
It's. Have you ever played Zorg? Or do you know what that is?
I know what it is, but I have never played it.
It's
like a text-based adventure?
Yeah, where it's like you've come across a abandoned cabin as you're climbing up the mountain to face the dragon. I don't fucking know. What do you want to do? It's like, okay, open the door. Okay, inside the door. Or you open the door and there's this inside. Okay, take this, so on. You talk and it will reply in the manner of, in certain ways that it's scripted. And there's a whole trailer for it. It has, Keenan from Key and Peele. I think. I always get those two mixed up. I can't remember. It's the taller one.
In the Skyrim one?
Yeah, it has Key and Peele, the two stand-up comedians.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
The taller one, there's a trailer that was put out on April 1st because that is the best time to put things out. That is absolutely the best time.
I disagree, but go ahead. You're just such a jerk about it.
They put a trailer out for the Skyrim on Alexa, and that was it.
And it was real.
It was real. People thought it was a joke, and it was real.
Yeah. Okay, my point being there is that Bethesda had a number of cracks on that kind of game.
Still do.
And well, they may still go. I guess they have to now that they got a huge cash infusion. But CD Projekt Red has not done this kind of first-person shooter type or first-person experience, so it's gonna be choppy. It's gonna be choppy.
Talking about Bethesda, does Cyberpunk have any inside microtransactions, any payments like that? Do we know of?
They said no. Saying no and actually having it be no are different things.
Well, them saying no, CD Projekt Red themselves saying no, that gives me faith with it because if EA was saying it. Well, we've seen their past. But CD Projekt Red, again, has such good faith in the gaming community that them saying no gives me a bit of faith of, I trust them because of I don't think Witcher had any it had DLC and stuff, but, well, how does Gwent work? Do you know anything about
I could not get into Gwent. I like card games and stuff, and Gwent just didn't jive with me. So
because I know Hearthstone and other card-based games they're
free to play and they're exclusively microtransaction based.
Yeah,
right?
but that it's a card-based game. That's what they are in nature. That's just what they are. But
yeah, CD Projekt Red does insist that there are no microtransactions for Cyberpunk 2077.
there will be free DLC and paid DLC from what I've heard. So there will be expansions, my guess, kind of like Witcher's Blood and Wine.
Which is one of the best games I've ever played.
I've heard. Again, I've heard fantastic things about it. But, you know, that was a paid DLC, and then they'll probably have free upgrade DLCs and a multiplayer coming.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into. The multiplayer probably will have microtransactions.
Probably.
They might be aesthetic. I'm actually slightly worried about the multiplayer for different reasons. The biggest reason is probably not going to happen, but it could. So GTA came out with GTA 5, 15 years ago?
Oh, you're thinking about GTA Online.
They're never going to make another GTA game. They don't need to.
I mean, they are.
It's all microtransactions. I don't believe that.
Hey, actually, I think I just read about that. GTA Online is about to become its own separate entity from Grand Theft Auto itself.
That's Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, is it? I thought it was GTA Online. Oh, okay.
No, it's Red Dead Redemption. But that's, what you're thinking. Basically, they don't need to put it out because they put out their big playground. And my assumption is that the multiplayer version of Cyberpunk 2077 will be a lot like GTA Online.
I mean, that'd be cool.
It'd be fun. Like, it'll depend on how they do it.
I would love if Cyberpunk makes up for a lot of the things that I wish GTA Online did. Like, I wish GTA Online gave me more options with, like, customizing my apartment or things like that. That my character didn't look like they had their blood drained in the morning.
They also fixed that. I haven't played it in a while, but a lot of the new items they got in there, and they're all pay-to-purchase items, basically, because you can't earn currency very fast.
Yeah, it's also, like, if you get into GTA Online, then there's one kid on a bike that flies with locked-on... Like, with
missiles, there's...
Because GTA has to outdo itself each time. That's the thing. And that's why there is going to be a GTA 6, because they have to hit the reset button with this. They have to be like, we've gotten so far with GTA Online that they have to reset it and bring it back to some normalcy to expand on it again to allow that. As well as GTA 6 will just allow them to expand the map, the locations, the icons of, like, pop icons and stuff like that. Like,
so the reason I'm bringing this up, specifically looking at, there was a point where they were releasing a Grand Theft Auto game almost every year.
Oh yeah, I mean PS2
had now it's been for a while.
Yeah, the PS2 had 3 GTAs, and the
in
GTA
a row,
5
basically
has 3 PlayStations.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
Anyway, so this is a really obscure thing I'm most interested in looking at Cyberpunk. They went over the facial animations for the games, and apparently you're going to be able to hear the audio and have it be fully animated for like 12 different languages. So obviously you can't sit there and facially capture all of that, which it's been done in recent games, and in my opinion has really put the hand animated facial animations to shame. Especially the best example is looking at Mass Effect Andromeda's animations. Oof. And you compare that to, and they had to do that with like programming and artificial. It's just really hard to look real, especially compared to all the facial capture animations. So I want to see how they do with that, because they have a whole program and they type in the script and then they shift things to say, how the mouth's moving depending on the language. So I want to see if that works.
Computers doing absolute bonkers thing.
Yeah, it is almost, I guess it's only 3 years later, but it's still updated technology, and they had to have seen that this doesn't always work. I can't imagine it's going to look great compared to, just the outright amazing facial capture and performance capture that people are doing now in most games. But it's impossible to do if you have the amount of dialogue they have, and you're going to do it in 12 different languages. That's just ridiculously expensive. You'll never make that money back. Never.
I mean, they're going to make their money back.
No,
GTA,
they wouldn't be able to make their money back if they did the facial capture on all the stuff and the cost for that. That's what I mean.
So GTA 5 has the record for making like they sold $800
$1 billion
million
in 3 days. Yeah,
It was $1 billion in 2 days. They sold.
I thought it was 2. Okay,
It was 800 million. I think 800 million on first day, and it was $1 billion by the second day. Fastest selling entertainment thing of any that's like been sold of that. Do you think Cyberpunk's going to beat that?
No.
You don't think so? You think GTA is going to be more popular than Cyberpunk?
I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be less popular.
Or
I mean, I think GTA is gonna be more popular. I think Cyberpunk's gonna be less popular. Cyberpunk's specific in a couple different ways. First of all, GTA is a mature thing, but this is really mature.
And GTA, everyone knows. Every person has heard of Grand Theft Auto because
there's a couple of reasons. Yeah, that was like it was GTA 5, but it was like the 7th major game, more than that, really. Of that brand. Well,
because GTA 4, but that's probably because of Witcher 3. Witcher 3 is one of the like highest loved games currently of the past decade as being the
Witcher other thing is it's also a sci-fi game, and those tend to be a little more niche than open world regular stuff.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, that makes sense. I can definitely see Modern Times being a better seller than.
Here's the best way to look at it. If GTA 6 was coming out on the same day as Cyberpunk 2077, which game wins?
Ooh, I mean, I would just be getting GTA 6 with that.
I think it's an ass kicking. I think GTA whoops its ass.
Yeah.
This is a scenario, obviously, where someone really, really fucked up in many ways.
Do you remember
putting these on the same day is dumb, and maybe Cyberpunk 2077 gets delayed another 4 years.
Remember when Watchmen was coming out, and it was coming out a month after GTA 5 originally until Watchmen got delayed. But Watchmen had an advertisement that was a month in Los Santos is enough, or it was something like that. It was essentially saying like you're only going to spend a month in GTA 5, and Watchmen.
Do you mean
Watch Dogs?
Watch Dogs? Yeah, okay.
Watch Dogs is going to take your attention away from GTA 5, and then not only did Watch Dogs get delayed after that, which made that thing like that kind of funny. Watch Dogs was also kind of not that good, but so yeah, with GTA 5 selling $1 billion, I was wondering like what game is going to come around and it's going to take that, and I was thinking Cyberpunk might do it. I don't know. I'm trying to think
At some point, some game will do it. I think you're right. It could have a chance, but
it's going to have
I'd be
immense
stunned.
sales. At least this year, Cyberpunk's going to be the biggest selling game of this year. Absolutely no.
It'd be bizarre if it wasn't.
I mean, the other contender is Cold War, Black Ops Cold War, which I heard isn't doing that well, which is a shame because Modern Warfare was phenomenal. That campaign for Modern Warfare 2019, there's a difficulty where you can play it on the hardest difficulty with no HUD at all, so it is just like the game in its crisp, clear graphics and everything like that, and you're playing through the game on the hardest difficulty where you getting shot once kills you. Oh, that was such a great way to play that campaign. That mission Safe House where you clear through a house, killing only 11 people, but that level in itself is so tense. There's no music that plays in the background. The design for it is beautiful. You encounter people that you don't know if they're hostile or not, but you can still accidentally kill a non-hostile person and not fail the mission. You just get you fucked up, you killed a civilian, but the mission it's great. It's so tense.
So here's an admission and another admission. I've never played a Call of Duty game, ever.
Fair.
First-person shooter games. I'm also considering buying my first Call of Duty games, and that's Black Ops. Because I've absolutely...
You should do
I've
Modern
absolutely
Warfare.
fallen in love. No, the reason why I've absolutely fallen in love with a DualSense controller. I almost don't want to play anything on it. I love not just the rumble function, but the adaptive triggers. And
Modern
apparently
Warfare, I think, has that too.
The Cold War one, they apparently did a fantastic job with it, and so that's why I want to test that out. And that's the only reason.
If you like Black Ops, then I would 100%.
I'm not a first-person shooter guy. I'm really
but
not.
You like stories.
Yeah, I guess so, but I first-person games generally turn me off.
Well, I mean, Yeah, well, I mean, that is fair. Everyone does have their own preference for that. But so part of the campaign with Modern Warfare, where you are playing as the Middle Eastern girl in her small town, or like I don't know the proper name for it, but you're playing as this little girl in a Middle Eastern area as it gets bombed and gassed by Russians, and it is tense as you and your brother are making your way through with gas masks as you're seeing the effects of poisonous gas that was bombed on this town, and it's tense. It is a shock thing, but it's not like we're trying to shock you. Like, it's telling us the story of it, and there's that realism of it too that is just like it was a phenomenal campaign.
In order to play a first-person shooter, it really, really, really needs something else for it, which is why Cyberpunk qualifies, because it's a hardcore RPG, or it needs to have RPG mechanics or something like that. I don't know if a general war story is going to be good enough.
Fair. Have you played Dishonored or any of those?
No, because I can't get into first-person stuff. I have played Destiny because I was curious to see how a console MMO would go, and it's not really a console MMO, but it also kind of is.
Sure.
So that was just enough for me to get into it, and that was just enough.
Okay.
But we can get into this on another podcast, but Cyberpunk is going to qualify. I would definitely prefer Cyberpunk third person, and I have a feeling at some point there will be a third person version of it, but it's taken them so long to come out with this game, I'm not particularly worried about it.
I don't know if there'll be because if they if they haven't done a third-person thing at this point, everything then for this game is designed and developed with first-person in mind. So putting it in
it's possible,
third-person might
maybe the multiplayer will do it.
Break things like that.
I was thinking specifically multiplayer, but that's way down the line. I don't think multiplayer will be out for at least 2 years.
Third-person when you drive a vehicle.
Yeah.
But... yeah.
And we haven't actually played it, so we'll have to see. At some point, I think we will do a Cyberpunk 2077 spoiler cast.
A game
because that would be fun.
A game that is first person only. That was also kind of fun. That's recently out. Was Star Wars Squadrons. It's kind of cool. It's a pilot TIE fighter kind of one that you're. I thought about wanting to
play that, but I didn't like the way it was. I mean, it makes sense that it's first person, but
well, if you have EA access, you got 10 hours of free demo right there.
Yeah, I don't.
Which you're
care enough to do because I got so many games I want to play.
All right, but it's kind of cool. It's got if I'm using the term correctly, a diegetic menu system where the cockpit itself is the menu. Where
that sounds interesting.
Instead of something on the HUD saying how fast you're going, you actually have a meter that grows and shrinks as you are raising the throttle. A heater that shows your ammunition instead of some that's like actually on the ship, and each ship is different. Your TIE bomber,
and there's some that have more advantages based on how much stuff they're showing, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun.
So I love space shooters, and I guess at some point I might get into that. It's far enough down my list that I don't think I'm going to get to it.
And if I recall correctly, I think that was the original idea for Battlefront, for their space combat in Battlefront 2, but they had to scrap it and minimize it to mix with release. And they just packaged it as its own game with Star Wars Squadrons. Which is also why it's $40, not $60, because it's kind of a small.
That was okay. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Game. But it was fun. It's a fun kind of game that'll hop in every once in a while with some friends.
So Anthony Alexander wrote into accidentallycasual@gmail.com.
Ooh.
He wants to know, how many playthroughs do we plan on doing in Cyberpunk 2077?
As many as it requires to get all the achievements is my goal, because I'm one of those.
Oh, you're going to do that?
I'm one of those losers. But there's going to be one playthrough, and I'm going to try to get as many achievements, just try to stick it with one playthrough as much as I can, and then create a second, maybe a third, to do scrap-ups, whatever's needed.
So here's... Sometimes if it's a game, I'll play it repeatedly, but it's going to depend on exactly how long it is.
also what the endgame content is. Like,
Yeah.
how much, like,
I don't
when
think
the
there is
game
endgame
ends-
content, but maybe
Well,
it'd be more just cleaning up stories around the city, right?
well, yeah, like, Skyrim, for example. When I finished the main story for Skyrim, there's still the entire world to go explore and continue doing your own thing. The story, like, I feel like the main story of Cyberpunk is going to be good. It's going to be a good story. It's going to be fun. It's going to do all that, cool things. But I feel like the game itself is the world of Cyberpunk and what you do and the choices you make in the world, and the story is a part of that. And when the story is done, the story is done. There's going to be more stuff to do based on the world that you have shaped throughout your playthrough.
So my two favorite parts of Witcher 3 were side quests. That
I've
were
heard
not
that they had
mandatory to the
phenomenal
story.
side quests.
And you're like, and I was like, I'll just follow this side quest because I'm going to screw around, and it ended up being fantastic.
Yeah, there's like a
Just
joke
fantastic.
about trying to find a woman's iron skillet that ended up being a phenomenal 5-hour storyline or something. I don't know.
So there's a couple more things that Anthony points out. The first thing is that the QA lead said that he's still playing his first playthrough, and he's put in over 175 hours and it's not done.
Yeah, well, I mean, like Skyrim, technically, you could be on your first
keep on
playthrough
going.
for
Yeah.
Skyrim and be 800 hours in.
And do all the side. They have different stuff. I don't think it'll take you that long. He's probably taking his time, and he's obviously doing
absolutely.
QA.
And from some other things I've heard is you can end the campaign not at any point, but you can do something that ends the main story then and there rather than some other parts that you may have gotten if you make other choices.
Okay. Yeah, we're definitely going to do a spoiler cast 2 months from now, probably. It's going to take our time to do it. It'd be interesting to look at from a decision-making game because there are enough crossovers to look at this versus Mass Effect 3 and Mass Effect Andromeda and where storytelling decision sci-fi games can go, which is our number one crossover with each other.
Yeah. I think this also might be one of the first games. I didn't even do this with Mass Effect much, but this might be one of the first games where I actually care with the character creator, where I'm actually going to have some fun with it.
You cared with the Mass Effect character creator?
Not really. I
tried and I'm like,
Shepherd.
this is not going to work, and then I went default.
There are some people that have a field day with it, and more power to y'all. I just default shepherd it, but
you can. And
I might have some fun with this one because I'm not too keen on the way the standard characters look, kind of how they are already.
Are they actually standard characters, or they just one of the defaults?
Well, that's what I meant, the default, because I'm going to play as a female in it. I'm just not I'm not too keen specifically on her hair, how it's long on one side, shaved on the other. Like me personally, I'm just not a fan of that fashion.
I'm sure that's changeable. Yeah.
So and I'm thinking well, if I'm going to change the hair, I may as well. So
yeah, you can do lots of stuff that's you can blur the genders, which is pretty cool. It's very Cyberpunk too.
I want to make an extremely Irish person. I want to make it super confusing.
Extremely Irish. Okay.
Yes. I want it to be super, super confusing.
Well, we can get into this going forward. Anyway, if you're interested in Cyberpunk or have future questions, you can hit us up at accidentallycasual@gmail.com or check it out in the comments section. And we may set up something else because apparently email is old. When
you play these type of games, how immersive do you try to get with them?
It depends on the game, but I got so immersive I went ahead and read a bunch of backstory stuff.
Oof.
So I didn't want to read about anything about the characters that were in it, although I got some of that, but I wanted to know, for instance, there is about, do the math, there's almost 80 years of history up to 2077, probably more than that. Like, for instance, the city itself was founded in 1994, which already happened.
Yeah, so Cyberpunk is an alternate. It's an alternate future. But it's not what we are going to look like in 2077. It is what this alternate history's 2077 look like. Because, if we look at Cyberpunk's 2020, I mean, besides the fact the pandemic and everything like that's going on, theirs is a lot different. They so, like something happened in the cyberpunk world in like the 80s or the 90s that went ultra capitalism.
Yeah, there's some major wars that took place in the last 20 years if we were to be on the same timeline.
Yeah.
That really changed stuff.
So,
and obviously we're not there.
That's also something I didn't know. I thought this was just going to be like what the future is going to be in 2077.
No, it's its own thing, yeah.
Yeah.
The Night City, very specifically, is actually a real city that got bought out by corporations, and I've been there, Morro Bay, which is in between where
California?
I am and Los Angeles, and it's right in between North and South California. And apparently there was a Californian Civil War, and they're right on the border, so there might be some stuff there. The one thing, and this is somewhat of a spoiler thing, so you can skip ahead a minute, but I believe they'll tell you right away. Apparently, it is believed that Johnny Silverhand, the Keanu Reeves character, nuked Night City in the 2020s.
Yeah, that's like right. I mean, he's supposed to be dead or anything, which he's not dead.
And he's in your head, so that's a little weird.
He's not dead. He is not dead. I'm calling that right here. He's not dead.
Depending on what you are alive, you're talking about like he's in a body somewhere?
He is alive. He's not dead.
I think he's alive already just being in your head.
Well, what
that's
I mean
alive
is like,
enough.
Well, because I think part of it is like Johnny's dead and no one, like, this is his memory thing in your head. My guess is he's not actually dead, that he is...
Oh, I thought that was his whole consciousness.
Well, I'm guessing that like he's either... Okay, so he's either alive somewhere and like that is his like conscious, like he's remotely getting information, like he's going to try to trick you, he's going to use you to do some of his deeds or stuff like that. He's alive, like he's some sort of puppeteer masterminding this. Either something of that, or he is dead and his consciousness is planning something like that for his consciousness to like gain power. Like Keanu Reeves is going to end up being a bad guy.
I think so too.
He is not a good guy. There's no way that Keanu Reeves, they're just not doing it. They're not doing it. They're not getting a name like that and going to keep him a good guy throughout the entire game.
He's a good guy in almost every movie he's done.
Yeah, John Wick. He was a very peaceful dude in that.
He was the good guy in that movie, though. Basically,
fair.
I don't want to say a good guy, but yeah, it's very interesting where this could go.
I want Keanu Reeves to be Ghost Rider in the MCU. There's a rumor that Keanu Reeves is going to be in Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness one. There's a rumor about that,
man.
And if he is in that, I want Keanu Reeves to be Ghost Rider. That would be perfect. Because Keanu Reeves has his own motorcycle thing too. Like him as Ghost Rider would just be perfect. If he's to be in the MCU character, it's got to be Ghost Rider.
Okay. Anyway, one thing I wanted to get to was the top games to play for a Mass Effect fan and the top games coming up that you should be excited for if you're a Mass Effect fan. And Cyberpunk 2077 right now would be on the top of the list of upcoming games, and it'll move probably to the top of the list to... What? Think of a different one.
This is a game that I would recommend if you're looking for an RPG kind of game. Like, what I would recommend are the South Park games. I feel like that would. They're like RPG light. They're fun, short-ish. Like they kind of have a main story. You would put
that ahead of Cyberpunk?
No. I'm meaning right now. If you're trying to find something to play between now and when Cyberpunk comes out on December 10th. Like the South Park games, would recommend that.
Yeah, no, there are other games. This is a podcast coming up that will do that, and we'll talk about other games. Another game that probably should be on your radar, although it's unclear what they're going to do, this was Outriders by People Can Fly, who the gameplay at first turned me on because it looks a whole lot like Mass Effect 3 gameplay, where it's a third-person shooter. This is something you can look up. It's a third-person shooter, but it's almost entirely ability-based, and that's one of the reasons I like Mass Effect 2 and 3, is you can go around, you don't really need to shoot your gun, you can just do stuff with abilities. But the people who have actually played it have described it as a combination of Mass Effect and Diablo.
Have you heard of a game called Spellbreak?
Yes, and I have played that.
That is fun. That's a fun game.
from the ability standpoint, it's interesting. The controls aren't great, but it is a very cool concept.
And I would also like something that's kind of sad that I feel like is a low-hanging fruit for Spellbreak.
You love low-hanging fruit.
Because that's the perfect game design stuff. It's just these low-hanging fruits. But would be the map itself that they have for Spellbreak. They should have made unique spots on the map for each ability. Like the top part is the snowy part of the map, and have some things of like, if you have the frost ability, while you're up there, maybe you can open an area, because you find chests and stuff everywhere. Yeah. But if you have a frozen thing, you could freeze some water so you and your team could get access up to some other higher
you could
level
create like an ice bridge or something
like
that.
And then like the rock area has some stone that like can only be broken by a stone breaker or
those are very interesting
has,
ideas that I'm sure no one who's listening to this knows what you're talking about.
That would have been fantastic because like, you know,
part of the added, man.
Oh, absolutely. And that is my hope with it is when they create a new map or something. I don't know if they have or haven't. I don't know much about the community.
By the way, they're adding story DLC.
Hot. But
which is unprecedented for what's the that
honestly
kind of
that game lends itself so perfectly to a story. Like all you need to do, you just need to create like a school teaching kids how to use these abilities, and boom, you got like 5 seasons right there on Crunchyroll.
I really wanted that to be a single player RPG, and of course they assumed I don't know why they went with the multiplayer
Battle Royale, because that's what sells. The Battle Royale
I guess,
is a big thing.
But I don't know if this one sold.
Well, and that's part of the issue. They say in game development that if you're designing a game around the trend, you're already behind.
Yeah.
Which
makes sense.
Yeah.
There were a whole bunch of companies that bankrupted trying to make the next World of Warcraft.
Yeah. But I mean, there were some great Battle Royale ones, like Modern Warfare's Battle Royale is really fun. Except that game is 250 gigabytes, which is just maddening, something like that.
That's too much.
It's nuts.
It's too much.
There's some good Battle Royale games. I'm waiting for like VR. There's some good VR Battle Royale games too, but I'm
waiting for the next generation of VR, which I guess is already happening right now.
Man, I can't wait for VR to have like haptic suits and stuff. That's going to be
dude, how
nuts.
Expensive would that be?
Well, yeah, but that's how things start out though. Like when they have haptic suits, it'll be expensive for like the first year or so, but I can wait. I can wait for my dream.
I think you'll wait there. There's some stuff in Cyberpunk. Anyway,
I just want to wait for Ready Player One to be a real thing so I can just upload my brain to the internet and not have to deal with life anymore.
I don't want a person like you on the internet. That's creepy. Your digital consciousness all over the place. Oh my God.
Oh, and actually, because we're talking about Cyberpunk, but we didn't talk about like Elon Musk with the brain chip.
You talked about that last week on the show.
I know.
You're just really into it.
Well, this is kind of cool.
I guess so.
He's putting, I mean, and that's also like Cyberpunk itself, where they're like integrating stuff with that technology, and we have robotic limbs and so on like that. But this is now actually
this stuff will be coming. It's just
your brain.
It's further behind than they are. I always have a pet peeve of them putting a year on sci-fi stuff because they're always wrong. They're always too early.
Yeah,
but at some point, a lot of this stuff you'll see. But I'm not sure we'll go full on. I think a lot of it will be more of a mix of genetic engineering, but there are going to be some cybernetic augments to that probably too.
Oh yeah, but isn't there usually that thing of like science doubles itself every 5 years or something? Like the rates that science expands doubles every certain amount of years. Because like the jump from TV to cell phone is so much of a like, but then the jump between cell phone to what we have like now is such a bigger jump just because as we improve our technology, our ability to improve technology in of itself improves. Like there's some
I hope that continues. That's not a guarantee. It certainly hasn't been the way throughout human history, but like the last, maybe with the start of the steam engine and the Industrial Revolution, has basically done that.
Well, there were wars going on, and nothing is a better motivator for improving your technology than a war. Humans will become extremely inventive when we try to find ways to kill each other.
This is, by the way, that's the entire purpose of Cyberpunk 2077. All that stuff came from wars.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
In the history, they're like, okay, it's a war, and we got to come up with new shit, so they did.
That's how a lot of our technologies come from. We're trying to invent new ways to kill each other so we can win a war, and while we do that, we're like, hey, this penicillin's kind of nice.
That's one of the more pleasant examples.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could talk about Unit 731, but that would be not a fun rabbit hole. Or MK Ultra.
Yeah, that stuff, well, we can get really dark.
History is phenomenal.
A hardcore history podcast.
Yes.
Very good. So we're going to go in there. I want to replug, go to accidentallycasual@gmail.com, email in your Mass Effect ideas for Mass Effect games, and we'll be going over them shortly. I think that'll be a lot of fun. And I think we'll make that a segment now that I'm thinking about it, because I have another segment I like getting to. I'm going to call it the Obscure Mass Effect Character of the Week.
Oh, there's one I was thinking of. Well, not.
Do you want to go? Because you can go first.
Of a segment.
Oh, okay.
Of just like a game that we may have been playing this week that we would recommend of like, hey, check this out.
Yeah, that's a generally thing like what you've been playing. Let's do that first. How about that?
Because I've been doing this one game called Sheltered, which is one way that a lot of people on the internet have described my life. And also it's a game where from my understanding, some sort of apocalypse has happened, but not like man-made, just climate change, shit went bad. You're living in a bunker, and it's 2D, kind of like Fallout Shelter, but you're in control of a family in a similar way of This War Is Mine, where you are very much in control of their individual actions, and you feed them, bathe them, do all that kind of stuff. You keep them alive in this post-apocalyptic world, and you just try to survive for as long as you can. And it's on Game Preview on Xbox, or I think it's on Game Pass now, actually, officially, like on Game Pass.
That's an older game, isn't it?
2017, 2018. But it's fun. It's nice little. It's a simple one. Once you kind of get the hang of it, you can get your people to survive pretty well. Like I'm on day 280 for my group, but a few families had to die before I actually understood how the game went and was like, oh, okay.
Learn the mechanics of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was fun, and it's also a game that I will start at 8 o'clock, and I'll look at my phone, and it's 3 in the morning, and I go, oh shit.
I love games like that.
Yeah, because it's just the days just go on, and it's like a city builder or something like that, where you're like, oh, I'm just gonna get the material to build a bed, and I build the bed. Oh, these people, I need to catch food and stuff for the people, so I need to get traps out there, and I almost have enough for so I'll send out a group, and oh, I can't quit now. I have a group that's searching a location. I want to see what they find. It's one of those games. So that's.
I'm finding you have a much broader range of games. We'll have to get into this.
It's because of achievements. I just recently broke 175,000 gamer score, and a lot of playing those games to get achievements has broadened. I've pre-planned some games to talk about of what game I recommend or what game I've been doing for the week, of just unique games that I'm trying to focus on Game Pass, but games that the people may not have tried, may not have heard of, and might be like, hey, this is kind of interesting. I'll give it a try.
Tucker's Game of the Week, new segment.
Yeah. So Sheltered was the one I was doing.
If you're a Spider-Man fan, you're going to have to play Spider-Man Miles Morales, but you probably already knew that, so.
Ooh, you're going with a popular one. You're going with...
I always go with... I love major AAA games. I just love them.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, there's a reason. I mean, they are the big ones.
I love certain indie games. If you're looking at another indie game that might be fun to check out, Star Renegades, which is a turn-based combat RPG. The combat system is great. The aesthetic is really great. A lot of it can plug right into Mass Effect. The soundtrack is phenomenal. It's a little sloppy in cases, but that one is a lot of fun. Just came out on consoles, too.
Okay. So it was on PC then before that?
It was on PC. Came out a couple months ago on PC. Just got to consoles right now, basically. Just punch in the soundtrack, and you're like, this is an awesome soundtrack.
Okay.
So, and then you look at the aesthetic, but the turn-based combat is really, really good. It's got that difficulty level that's high, and every single turn you could fail, but you got to chip away at the enemy. It's fantastic.
So is it turn-based like XCOM or something like that, or?
No, it's turn-based like really old school RPGs like Final Fantasy.
Ah, okay.
But
okay.
it's specifically about stopping an enemy's attack each round. It's round-based. It's a little bit innovative, done by a small team. It's definitely on the list of games that I would recommend if you like sci-fi type games. Sprawling sci-fi universe. It's a little bit of a roguelike, but that part doesn't work. I won't get into it too much, but the aesthetic is it's fun diving in. So if you're insistent on an indie game.
Well, I was just like, whatever you'd recommend of.
Yeah, I love the big AAA games, and there usually aren't enough of them, but that would be one that I would point out. Star Renegades and yours again was Sheltered. Take a peek. Yeah. Maybe we'll try to get links to those in the description box. Stuff in the description box. All right, we're going to try to get this also on audio stuff, and we'll have to work on how we do all that. My Mass Effect Obscure Character of the Week, which you will not be able to guess and you will not remember. I'm hoping to get a character that you will remember who they were, but may not remember their name. That obscure. Conrad Werner, everyone remembers because he's that popular.
Oh,
he's a start.
Yeah, I mean, he's your favorite character. I'm not going to forget that one.
He's very close to my favorite character. I don't think he's my favorite character, but his quotes are fantastic. This week's character is based on pandemics going on, and it's Daniel from the Omega Clinic, Morden's assistant, who you have to save at some point or not save.
Daniel.
It's just a dude.
Daniel?
It's a very naive dude, and I will post a clip of his stuff. The reason I picked him is because he leads to one of my favorite lines in the entire series.
Daniel Abrams. Dr. Daniel Abrams.
Oh, he has a last name? Are you sure it's... I thought it was just Daniel.
That's what the wiki says.
Oh, wow. He's got a last name. Anyway, he gives a setup to Morden, and Morden freaks him out. So that's great.
All right, that'll
be post-song.
He worked with Morton Solis' clinic on Omega during the outbreak of the plague. He bravely ventures to get the vaccine.
But and he's an optional character to save.
Yeah, if Daniel survives, he sends an email titled "Things are quiet again" to Commander Shepard.
Yep.
Tells you the clinic is doing well, that you got rid of most of the plague, and that he's been able to handle the rest without much trouble. And the Blue Suns keep offering to take over security.
That's what you want. Mercenary groups taking over security.
Yeah.
Anyway, Daniel, if you have a character you want to suggest, you can go ahead. accidentallycasual@gmail.com. You can also email topic suggestions or questions.
Or send us something on Twitter.
Send us something on Twitter. Yeah. I'm at Minius GC. Tucker is at Appy Tucker.
Yep.
Oh, I put this down. I'm not following you on Twitter, and I'm going to do that right now.
Okay.
The reason I'm doing this thing, when Seeker was on the podcast, I wasn't following her, and I don't actually read the people I'm following because there's just too much. So that's why I didn't notice. But she was super insulted that I wasn't following her ahead of time.
I don't know who follows me, who doesn't.
And I tried to sneak it by her, and it didn't work, and she was mad. So I'm talking to you directly, letting you know there. And if you post something, I won't see it. If you @me, then I'll see it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't used Twitter much, but I plan on getting back onto that, or just using it more often.
It's interesting. It's an interesting place. There's some not so great stuff there.
I've heard.
But that's the internet in general. All right, so this has been episode 15 of Accidentally Casual Gaming Podcast. And we'll be back next week.
Yep. All right, see ya.
Special. Catch you then.
Well done, Shepard. Thank you.
And thank you from me as well. Those Batarians would have killed me. For a second there, I thought you were going to shoot them even after they let me go.
I made a promise to spare them if they let you go. I honor my promises.
Merciful of you. Risky. Would have killed them myself.
Professor, how can you say that? You're a doctor. You believe in helping people.
Lots of ways to help people. Sometimes heal patients, sometimes execute dangerous people. Either way helps. Go check on the patients. Lots of work to do. Think about what I said. Good kid, bit naive. He'll learn. Letting him take over the clinic. Should be able to handle it now that Vorja are gone.